So chapter 4 now, professional responsibility and liability. Now, what are we looking at in this course of this topic? We'll be looking at, we'll be explaining the expectation gap and how expectation gap arise. We'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at application of provision of international standard on audit 240. That has to do with what? Fraud and error. Can you see that around? Now looking at auditing standard. Also, we'll have to know how to describe auditor's liability when an auditor's liability arises. Is it criminal or is it through civil law? Is it through what? Criminal law or through civil law? How does auditor's liability arise? And how can an auditor manage or reduce this liability? So, but before then, let's go to expectation gap. Audit expectation gap. Audit expectation gap. Now, what do you mean by expectation gap? Are we together? What is expectation gap? When we say gap, it means differences. Expectation gap. I'm coming. Okay. Expectation gap is the difference or gap between what the users of financial statements think, what the users of financial statements think about what an auditor should do. What do you mean by that? That means what the users of financial information thought that it is the responsibility of an auditor or duty or right of an auditor, and what the law say or prescribe about the duty or right of an auditor. Are we together? Look at this now. What we are saying by expectation gap, the expectation gap is saying that, let me give an example. Who know this tennis grandstand that they normally play in UK, Wembley grandstand. You know, in that grandstand you are required to be wearing what? White. Are we together? You are required to be wearing white, right? Now, look at this now. Don't let me go to that. Let's look at this now. The law says I should behave in this manner. Are we together? But the users of financial information think that this is how I should behave. So there is a misinterpretation of who the law, what the law says I should be doing, and what the users of financial information say I should what? I should do according to the law. Look at this. Look at this one example. And me, I used to believe it when I was small too. We believe before going through this course. I'm also part of them, and I believe that before, that detection of fraud should be done by what? By the auditor. That is the responsibility of the auditor. But the auditor, the primary purpose of an auditor is not for the prevention and detection of fraud. So if you believe that it's my responsibility to what? To detect fraud when I'm doing auditing, what are we saying? There's a gap between what you think I should do and what the law requires me to do. That is what we mean by audit expectation gap. Are we together? Are we together? The prevention and detection of fraud is the responsibility of who? Of the management, of those charged with governance. Do we know that? The auditor is only concerned about fraud and error that is material to what? To the financial statement. Are we together? Are we together? Now let's now look at the three elements in expectation gap. So look at what audit expectation gap is. What the audit expectation gap is the difference and gap between what the users of financial information thinks about what an auditor should do, about the responsibility of an auditor, and what the law requires that an auditor should do. So let's look at the three elements in expectation gap. One, we have standard gap. Standard gap. What do you mean by standard gap? This occur, are we together? This occur when users of financial information think or think or assume that an auditor has a wide range of rules or standards that they can adopt. Are we together? They say they have a wide range of standards that they can adopt. That they can adopt, they can decide to go for any standard that is favorable. Are we together? Is that true? No. Are we together? So look at it. He said this occurs because of the perception that all these standards are more prescriptive than they actually are, and the auditor have a wide range of rules that they may follow. So if users of financial information believe that an auditor have a rule that is the one that they like, is the standard that they like, now they will do what? They will follow. That is going to raise what? Gap. And that's what we call standard what? Gap. Now let's go to performance gap. Performance gap. Now, what we do is standard gap. They are saying that an auditor has wide range of standard or rules that they cannot adopt because they prescribe to the one that is more favorable. Is that true? No. So if users of financial information have that perspective, they will believe that the auditor is not doing what he should be doing because the law has given what them to choose any of the standards that they feel like following. He said this occurs because of a perception that the audit standards are more prescriptive than they actually are. And the auditor have what do you mean by prescriptive? How is that? They can, if they say prescriptive, that can direct how an auditor can go. They can choose, the auditor can choose which one is favorable. Are we together? And which is not true. So let's go to expectation gap. Now, expectation gap is when the users of financial information believe that the auditing profession has dropped, is below the required standard. So no matter performance gap. What did I call it? Oh, sorry, performance gap. Thank you very much, my sister from Jos. Now, performance gap. Are we together? Performance gap is saying that the audit work or profession has dropped below the required standard. If you have that mentality, what happens? Even though the auditor is doing the right thing, you will still believe that the auditor is not doing anything, is not qualified because of performance gap. So you can say we are not saying that the performance of the auditor is below par, whereas the auditor is what? Is doing well. There is high what? Audit quality in his work. But because you believe all auditors are corrupt, you know some people believe that auditor that if you are an auditor, that person must be a what? Is a liar. So no matter what you do, they will say there will still be element of what? Of lie or misstatement in your work. Now let's now go to the third gap, which is the liability gap. Liability gap. Now, what do you mean by liability gap? Now, liability gap arises when the users of financial information or statements lack understanding about the liability of an auditor and who an auditor is liable to. So they believe that if I should pick the audited financial statement, and if that audited financial statement I pick now has made me to incur a loss, that I can sue the what? The auditor. It is not everybody that the auditor is liable to based on the information that they have audited. Are we together? It is not everyone. Everybody believes that once there is misfortune based on the audit or based on the opinion of the auditor, maybe you rely on the opinion of an auditor now. Now that opinion and you rely on it now makes you to incur a what? A loss or suffer a misfortune. You know some people say that they can sue the auditor. What the Lord is saying that it is not everyone that the auditor is liable to. So when you have an understanding that the auditor is liable to what? To every loss made based on his what? Opinion, that is has caused expectation gap. Because if the law says that I'm only liable to some certain issues or to some certain person, and you are believing that all matters that arises because of the decision or because of the opinion or professional judgment has made or conclusion that has made, what is that? There is a gap. Are we together? Now let's look at the consequences of expectation gap. Consequences of expectation gap. So we look at the enemy. Let's look at the consequences of expectation gap. So let's look at consequences of expectation gap. Now, because you have different opinion about a wrong perception about an auditor, if users of financial information are having wrong perception or wrong, they are having a wrong understanding of the rights, the responsibility, and the liability of an auditor, what would that lead to? It will lead to an high rate of litigation. That means the one that does not concern the auditor and the one that concerns the auditor, everybody will not be what? Taking the auditors to what? To court, because they have suffered what is called loss. Are we together? So there will be incorrect decision by users of audited reports. Because if you believe that auditing work has dropped below the required standard, you will not want to rely on audited financial statements. So because of that, you will be making an incorrect what? Decision. Now, it will also cause distrust. Are we together? People will not believe the audit provision again because of this trust. So there will be distrust between the audit professional and the users of financial information. So now, let's know the second consequence now. What is the way that we can use to close this gap? I've seen this in the past question though. Closing expectation gap. So how can you close expectation gap? Are we together? How do we close expectation gap? Now, one of the ways we can close expectation gap is to improve the general knowledge and understanding of audit profession. So if users of financial information understand what audit processes, what audit responsibility is, auditor's responsibility is now, what happens? There will be gap between what they assume. So, and how do you do that? You can do seminars, do reports, and all those things. So, improve the general knowledge and understanding about audit profession or audit process. That's one. Two, how to close expectation gap. Two is that let there be control over audit profession. It's not everybody that is qualified to be an auditor. So if fake or incompetent people are also taking part in audit profession, what will that lead to? People will be believing what we call what? What do we call that? What would we call that? We call this performance gap. That the audit work has dropped below the required standard. But if there is control over it, so your activities can be measured, can be monitored, you can be supervised, the regulatory authority can decide, or there's a body that can determine who is qualified to be an auditor. What will happen? It will reduce this gap. Now, another way to reduce the gap is by having an open and candid communication. When there is open and candid communication between internal auditor and external auditor, financial management, those charged with governance, the audit committee, when the audit committee has an open and candid communication, what would that do? Because those people are those closer to users of financial information. They are even part of what? Users of financial information. Are we together? Because the management are no longer part of the users of financial information. But when there is open communication, you can ask me questions at any time. I can ask you questions at any time. If there is any area I need clarification, they can ask each other. What will that do? It will reduce the gap. So open and candid communication between internal auditor, external auditor, the management, and those charged with governance. Those charged with governance are those that will form the audit committee. It will reduce expectation gap. Are we together? Now, another way to reduce expectation gap is by what? Providing. Are we together? Is by providing a communication or enhancing communication about the roles and responsibility of an auditor. So when the roles and responsibility of an auditor and the management is presented to users of financial information, what happens? They will know who is responsible and who is not responsible. Are we clear? Clear communication. Are we together? Clear communication and confirmation of the roles and responsibility of respective what stakeholders. Are we together? So this will reduce expectation gap. What's the next thing that we have to look at? What's the next thing we have to look at? Professional. So professional criticism is what we are looking at. That's why I don't blame her. Even though we are close, you will have to bring that. She has a questioning mind. Are we together? You know why an auditor should have professional criticism? You know why? You know why I say compulsory? Is that look at this now. Because they are to examine the financial statement. Are we together? And form an opinion. That opinion now will require what? It will require professional specificism. Are we together now? It will require, because what? Look at it now. You will need to determine whether the financial statement are shown true and fair view. Are we together? So please. That means, what are you doing that? You are judging. That means auditors need to make what? Professional judgments. And that's why you see, let me give an example of who also acts as an auditor. Who have seen a judge or watched a film of a judge before. What do they do in law case when judge is starting? They ask questions. How you say, okay, why are you gay? Are we together? They will ask, why are you gay? Your fingerprint show this. You can't say because someone look innocent that this person cannot do this. So an auditor always have this mindset of questioning mind. Because it's that questioning mind that can help them to what? To perform the audit. Now this is why the international audit and assurance standard board now comes with what? Question and answer, so that people can understand what professional expertise is and what is required of you. They now do a questionnaire, question and answer. It is 8 questions and providing answers to, I think 8 questions. 8 questions, and how these 8 questions should be answered, so that will enable you as an auditor or as a professional accountant to understand what professional expertise is now. So let's go to the question one after the other before we close the class for today. So we'll start from fraud and error in our next class. Now, what is professional expertise? They said IS define professional expertise as an attitude that include a questioning mind. And when you say you have questioning mind, it makes you to be what? Alert. To be alert. So you cannot be caught unaware. Are we together? And having a questioning mind, are we together? Having a questioning mind to possibility of material misstatement. To possibility of material misstatement that may be caused by error and fraud. Are we together? So questioning mind means an inquisitive mind. So do you understand what professional expertise? That's question 1. Please know it. What is professional expertise, and should I able to explain that professional expertise is what? Is questioning mind. Having allowed to possible material misstatement caused by error or fraud. Are we together? And why do you have no questioning mind? For you to gather what? Quality what? To gather evidence, because it's that evidence that is going to require you to form an opinion. Sir, you cannot give an auditor this. Let's say this is the financial statement, Are we together? And the auditor will believe that that financial statement is prepared accordingly. No, they will still be requiring that, okay, how is your capital prepared? What policy did you use? If there's any area that they need clarification, they will ask. What makes them to ask in the first place that they have question in mind? Are we together? Now let's move to question 2. Question 3 is, why is professional expertise important in audit of financial statement? Why is it important? Why is it important? Now, I've said that professional expertise is interrelated with what? With professional judgment. Are we together? With professional judgment. So, professional expertise is important because it facilitates appropriate exercise of professional judgment by an auditor. So, you don't need to cram all this. To facilitate the appropriate professional judgment by an auditor. That is why it is required. Are we together? I've answered that. Please. You don't need to cram everything here. Are we together? 3. What you need to cram is the question. Are we together? Don't cram this. Just know how to explain the answer. What can be done by audit firm and auditor to enhance the awareness of the importance of professional expertise and its application? What's question number 1? What is professional expertise? 2 is, why is professional expertise important in the audit of financial statement? 3 questions now is what we are looking at as what? What can be done by audit firm and auditor to enhance the awareness, are we together, of the importance of professional expertise and its application? What can be done? Now, what can be done is that there should be influence, are we together? There should be influence of professional expertise in the leadership and the engagement what? And the engagement partner. Are we together? Now, who is the leader of the audit team? Who is the leader of the audit team? The audit leader. That means the engagement partner. Now, if the look at this now, man. If the engagement partner does not have professional expertise, how can they bring awareness of professional expertise if it is not aware of professional expertise? If the audit firm leadership are not taking professional expertise what? Seriously or important. So there should be influence. Are we together? There should be action taken by who? By the leadership of the audit firm and the engagement partner, by inculcating professional expertise in the culture and the business environment of the firm. Are we together? Are we together? Is it clear? I think it's clear. That means appropriate authority, which we are saying that the leadership of the audit firm and the engagement partner should what? Should take action by inculcating what? Professional expertise in what? In the culture and the business environment of the firm. Look at this now. When they do that, what happens? The awareness of professional expertise will be what? Will be crossed across the firm. Now, 4. At what stage in the audit process is professional expertise necessary? At what stage? Now, look at, don't even stress yourself. Professional expertise is relevant and necessary throughout the what? Audit. Through the planning, when you are doing the exercise and when you are forming your opinion, you need what? Professional expertise. Are we together? So at what stage is audit process? At what stage is audit process is professional skepticism required? It is relevant and necessary throughout the what? Audit, through the planning, execution, conduct of the audit, and when you are writing an opinion or report of the audit. Now let's go to 5. 5. What does professional skepticism relate to the audit responsibility with respect to fraud? How does professional skepticism relate to audit responsibility with respect to what? To fraud? That's the question. Are we together? So how do we now answer that question? Now, they said, how does professional skepticism relate to auditor's responsibility with respect to what? To fraud. This is it now. The auditor professional skepticism is very important. Are we together? Look at it now. Look at it. I don't even need to explain that now. Look at it. Look at this now. It is not all fraud that the auditor will take into consideration. That means professional skepticism is required for what? Considering which fraud will have material misstatement in the financial statement. Are we together? So professional skepticism is important when auditor is considering what? Which fraud has what? A risk of material misstatement. So let's go to 6. Now, in addition to fraud, are there no other aspects of audit where professional skepticism may be particularly important? Yes, apart from fraud. There are some other places. Are we together? Those other places where professional skepticism is required is area where it's important. And what are the areas where it's important? Where judgments are made, where it is more complex or significant in the audit. Professional skepticism is required. Look at it. Accounting estimate. Accounting estimate is based on what? It's based on what? It's based on your opinion or judgment. Because accounting estimate is not accurate. You are just making a provision that you are not sure, but you believe that this is what the amount should be. So the professional, look at that. Professional skepticism will now require an auditor to know if this estimate made, is it appropriate? Is it appropriate? What is the basis behind it? What is it doing now? It's having questioning what mind towards those aspects. And other aspects which it is what? Complex or significant to the financial statement, like related party transaction. How do we know that this relationship is a related party transaction? Are we together? So 7. They said, how can the application of professional skepticism be evidence? 7, number 7 question. That's the question. How can the application of professional skepticism be evidence? Do you understand what they mean by that? If you are carrying out professional skepticism, how do we know that you are carrying it out? Are we together? We know by carrying it out because of what? Documentation. Your documentation will require that you have carried out professional skepticism. Because look at it now. Look at this. If an auditor needs an area of clarification, if an information is given to you and you are doubting that information, what did they say you should do? They say you should communicate with the manager or just charge with the government to write what? a clarification, an explanation about the area where you seek what? Explanation. What brought about that? No, what brought about that is questioning mind that brought about you seeking an information. And how do you know? The management will now write what? A written representation. Are we together? Even the auditor will not say it by mouth. He will write those areas out. Are we together? Documentation is very critical in showing evidence that professional skepticism has occurred. Are we together? So, documentation help an auditor to demonstrate how significant judgment and key audit issues have been addressed. So, when you look at the documentation, it will show that this auditor has applied professional skepticism. Now, let's now go to 8. 8. Do regulators, that's the question, do regulators oversight bodies of audit firms and those charged with governance? See, if you are seeing TCWG, it means those charged with governance. So if you see, don't say, where is this government? I say if you see it in your material, you see TCWG, it means those charged with governance. Are we together? Let's look at it. It said, do regulator and oversight bodies of audit firms and those charged with governance has a role to play in supporting skeptical behavior among auditors? Did they have a role? Now, the international standard on audit does not actually specify the role that they have to play, but they have a critical role to what? To play. Can you see why I explain it now? So don't go and cram the answer. What you need to cram is what? Is the questions. Yes, now they will ask you professional. Don't worry, when we look at some past questions, we look at, we'll see. And see they have asked the questions before and they answer. So, any question before we close the class? Now, let's now go. Question number 1 is, what is professional skepticism? What is professional skepticism? 2.
Why is professional skepticism important in audit of financial?
So, why is professional skepticism important in the audit of financial statements? 2, 3.
What can be done by
what?
Audit firms.
By audit firms
and auditors.
To enhance the awareness of
the importance of professional skepticism.
For the importance of professional skepticism
And its application.
Did you write it? Where is it? Now, 3. God, Jesus Christ. 3 is, okay, let's go to 1 again. 1 is, what is professional skepticism? 2 is, what is professional skepticism? Why is professional skepticism important in audit of financial statements? 3 is, what can be done by audit firms and auditors to enhance the awareness of the importance of professional skepticism and its what? Application. 4 question is, at what stage in audit process is professional skepticism necessary throughout the audit? Now, let's go to 5. How does professional skepticism relate to audit responsibility with respect to audit? To fraud. 6 is, in addition to fraud, what are the other see, if I remember this 4, I remember 6.
Yes, sir.
In addition to fraud, what are the other aspects of audit where professional skepticism may be particularly important? We say area where it is what? It is complex, it requires judgment, and when it is critical, are we together? Or significant. Those are the other areas. 7. They said, how can application of professional specificism be what? Be evidence? Through what? Documentation. You know, when the auditor is communicating or disclosing, recording discussion with those charged with governance, it shows that he has what? Performed professional skepticism. So the last question is, how do regulators oversight bodies of audit firm and those charged with governance have a role to play in supporting specific behavior among auditors? So they say IAS do not state out their requirements, but they have a critical role to play in achieving professional skepticism. Thank you.